Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Himes here, joined by my friend Bob Stewart. Bob, how are you today?
I'm deaf, dude. You are loud today. You are loud and in charge.
Sometimes, Bob, I just feel it. And when I feel it, I go for it. It's like when Ben just breaks out in song to open one of our episodes. It usually scares me as to what's coming. You know what I mean?
I wonder if our guest today is a better singer. Like, could we get her to belt a few bars out? When Ben does that, I'm like off for like a week or two after he does one of those, you know?
I go home and I make sure I make note of that episode and tell Nita never to listen to those because I want her to be able to respect Ben. And when he starts rapping and singing, I'm just like, avoid those.
You know what that is? It's talent.
That's what we're talking about.
No, he doesn't have any. I'm just saying that, like, if he was a singer, he'd have talent. And we're here to talk to somebody today who, in our world, is all about finding talent.
Absolutely. And Bob, this one again, I'm throwing you under that bus. I've backed it up over you a few times. This is for you, right? The whole talent series, Bob, you're looking for talent. Folks, if you are listening to us through the talent series, I want you to understand, Bob Stewart is seriously hiring. And if you have made it through this series and you're interested in learning more, Bob, how can they connect with you to raise their hand and say, I might be interested?
I'm Bob at Ben Kinney. You can find, I'm active, Bob, on all the places, the Facebooks and the Instagrams and all that. But the reality is the talent that we're looking for as we build, one leg of our organization, which I guess is really in Ben's world, kind of becoming the parent company of our organization place, is the real person. If they start reaching out to me, they're most likely going to end up with our guest today as they start their journey of exploring, how their talent might fit into our organization. Holly is actually the person that they kind of start with, and she really manages that. And Holly, I'll let you explain it, but I mean, you kind of manage that talent as we're going out and looking for talent, right? Like, you're the person in our organization that heads that entire division.
And let's bring her onto the podcast.
Right, I haven't said her name yet. Holly.
You're setting it up here just lovely for us, that everybody out there, we went out there and we said, all right, we've been talking talent. We should go find someone who can really talk real world experience on top of what you, Ben, and I have been talking about through this. And we went to Place's Chief Talent Officer, Holly Priestner. Holly, welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast.
Well, hello. Thanks for having me.
We are excited to have you because I know we're going to learn some amazing things for everybody that's wanting to learn how to grow and is in a position that they're going to want to learn how to hire, and they're going to want to learn some lessons from you, or they might be on the other side of that coin, like Bob just was talking about. They're going to be reaching out to you because they want in this organization that you're running somehow and helping find the talent for. So
maybe as we're going through here, Holly can give us she'd give us a few like tips on if they were going to reach out to us and they did want to work with us, like what that might look like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We will strategically have her drop some of those things. Holly, introduce yourself to everybody, to our audience. How does someone become a Chief Talent Officer? What's that path you've taken? Who are you? Tell us all about you.
Well, I would say the path to being a chief talent officer was not a planned path at all. Really, what my skill set started with was in marketing and communications, and was recruited to a corporate headquarters to build out a talent attraction brand. And so for all of our listeners that are building businesses or own businesses, I want you to think about, you have two brands. You have the brand that is what your business function actually is, but you also have a brand that is how you show up as a best place to work. And so my path to talent actually started with building out a talent brand. And what I'll also say is everything that you're doing in business translates nicely into becoming a talent magnet, or in my world, I call it a unicorn hunter, is because it's the same thing that you do in business development or sales or marketing. You're getting your story out there. You're making connections with people, building relationships, adding value, and then showing them how you can be the path to their preferred future, or that your organization can solve the challenges that they're facing to help them grow a bigger life. And so when we think about that path to talent, that's how mine got started was just telling a story. And Chad, I've known you for a really long time. I think you know this. I'm a relationship based person. I love people. And so that naturally transitioned into being able to get into the recruiting, or in our case, as Bob would say, talent attraction perspective. I think that's one thing that we forget about is when we talk about recruiting, it's not just that we need a widget maker and, hey, Chad, you make great widgets, come along with us. It really is an attraction process of, does our organization align with your values and who you are? And even though we need the widget maker, is our growth path for you in the widget industry the path for you? And that's where those relationships really come into play.
Wow. I read a quote earlier today. So obviously the universe was getting me ready for this this episode that we were recording. I read a quote earlier today with Chick-fil-A. They were asked about how do they find amazing people to work at Chick-fil-A. And they said, we must focus on becoming the organization the people we are looking for is looking for. So I think that's exactly kind of what you're talking about here, Holly. And, when we get into the world of fighter pilots, because we're all going to become fighter pilots at some point, you don't get to pick your own nickname. Right? Maverick did not get to pick his nickname. Bob, you're going to be Lids. That's probably going to be.
I like that.
You're going to be Lids. I think Holly's definitely now the unicorn hunter.
The unicorn hunter. I love that.
That should be on your business cards, Holly, if that's what you said, that you're the unicorn hunter.
I have a unicorn in my office.
Yeah, we can see each other. A lot of times when they listen to these, they don't. So we put these out on YouTube so they can go watch them. But we can see Holly's unicorn back there. She found at least one, Holly. So you found at least one unicorn. That's good. Tell me. Okay, so you started. You started in this world as somebody from the marketing side who was going out and creating the story of the company that you were trying to attract talent to, right? What were some of the lessons that you learned inside of building a story around? Because I think, as I think about it, like there's two ways we go out and sell the story: all about us, or all about like why we're good for them. But like, what was that balance in there of building a story about a brand and why, talented individuals might want to go work with that brand?
Gosh, I love that question. Thank you for that, Bob. And to piggyback on what Chad just said, Chick-fil-A said we have to become the company and to become the people, to be the people that we want to attract. And I think it starts there. Like attracts like. And I'll answer your question directly, but we need to remember when we're bringing people into our world, how are we showing up? And are we showing up in a way that's attracting the people that we want? And that goes from the individual hiring managers. So, Bob, let's use you as an example. Every single person that is hiring people in your world, are they showing up as people that you would hire again? How are they putting their best foot forward? What is the first interaction that a candidate has with a member of your team? Is that an interaction that you would want them to have? And so first and foremost, it starts with us. And, we talk about mission, vision, and values. And a lot of people think that that's woo-woo or not needed. But I will tell you that is mission critical, especially with the generation of talent that we're recruiting today. I'll say over and over again, that's one thing that people ask. I'm looking at values. I'm looking at mission. Is that aligned with who I am? Making sure that your organization lives that mission, that it's not just rhetoric on a wall or on a website, and that every single member of your team can actually talk about that, but not just talk about it as, oh, this is our mission, but also this is how we put that mission into action every single day. This is how we're living it, which goes to, it's not really about us. So sure, there's our mission. This is why we're a great place to work. Here are our benefits. Bob has great health insurance. Bob has a super cool work structure. It's a fun office to be in. But that's not the story that we really want to tell. We want to tell the story of the people that are in our organization, their success stories. Their success stories like on the playing field and what they're actually doing, and also their story off of the playing field of how they're enjoying life or what working in your organization does to power the things that are most important to them. So when we think about that brand, we have to take ourselves out of it. If you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, you're not the product. If you're the hiring manager and you're listening to this, you're not the product. The product is the person on the other side of that conversation and how you can get them what they want in life. If you focus on telling the stories of the people on your team, you don't have to worry about anything else. You don't have to worry about snazzy slogans or taglines or logos. You've done your job when you can talk about your people.
I love that. Holly, I mean, one of our, like in the line of the business that I work in, like day in and day out, the real estate sales and the software stuff, like my mom's story, and you're aware of my mom's story, but like
we all are, Bob.
79 transactions, like the real estate robot, Granny Gale, right? But like that's such a powerful story. It's not about, I mean, in many ways, it's about the systems and the models that we put in place for her to be able to succeed. But it's the story of this lady that was later in her career, and she just bought in, and she's like, like really transformed her life and the life of all my brothers and sisters' kids. And it's just that's such a powerful, I don't know. I have an aha right out of that. Like you don't have to sell your company as much as you sell like what you mean to the employees that work there. What is coming a part of our organization meant for Johnny, right? Like that's so powerful.
Well, and you just talked about your mom is a really unique situation where she used the tool and she's also part of our world. And so that's a powerful story for two reasons, because it relates to a product that we sell. You can hear the Texas in me right now. It also relates to, her growth path in an organization. Last week, I was meeting with a commercial real estate broker from New York City, and she said where they're having a hard time right now is that people are wanting mission-based work. And she said selling dirt and development is really not that exciting to, the people that we're recruiting today that are looking for meaning in their work. And I looked at her and I said, well, let's look at that a little bit differently. And what you do, you're able to help people build wealth or help businesses come to life, help dreams come true. So even if you don't have the success stories of your people yet, think about what your product's doing when you're telling that story, and think about why what you do is meaningful to other people and why it's so important to go sell that dirt or to capitalize on this development. And you can also look at it from that perspective of what you do every single day matters, because what you do every single day with your organization or your business is impacting the lives of other people. And so when you think about Gail, specifically, say she wasn't part of Place, say she's just this amazing woman that happened to buy Brivity, and this is how it changed her world and generations to come. That's a meaningful story, even if you didn't have a sales member that was attached to that story with phenomenal outcomes. You're still able to tug at the heartstrings of why what you do is important.
I mean, look, I when you say that, we just sell dirt and there's not that much meaning to it, and you can easily find the meaning in there. I think one of the things our organization has done, and kudos to Ben and Chris, like, I mean, I'm wearing the sweatshirt, right? We deliver the dream of home ownership everywhere, and that's what we do. And we're super passionate about it. A lot of us have, like, I even get a little choked up thinking this. A lot of us have these stories of, like, I know what it meant to my family the first time that my mom like bought a house. I felt like I had a community somewhere we had roots down. Like, it meant a lot, And so I'm a part of this organization because I massively believe in our mission. I get up every single day to deliver on it, and we are attracting people that do the same thing, right? They don't think to themselves, we just help people buy and sell houses. Like, they know the net worth difference between a renter and a homeowner. They know, right, the impact that we have when a family sets roots down in a community. Like, and that is, somebody else out there is doing the same thing. They just don't have the same mindset around it, right?
The mindset right. Mission
Bob,
matters.
Sorry, Bob, I could
7-Eleven.
Breathe, 7-Eleven. Deep breath.
Give me the breathing. All right. 7-Eleven over there. You're getting a little teary for a moment there.
Right, sorry.
Right? This isn't a commercial for come work at Place.
Yes, it is. What? That's what this whole series is. The whole
talent series is about this.
That's why I'm here.
That's right. I'm muting both of you people. All right. Look, it's not a commercial, yet of course you're looking for talent. But we are here to help our audience finding talent.
Okay.
Sorry. So we went and we got Holly to help us with this. So, Holly, our audience is looking for talent. Give us some places and tips on where to go to find this talent. You've talked to us about this story, this knowing our mission, our vision, all of that stuff. We can dive back into it if that's where we end up in the conversation. But let's help our audience find talent, because maybe some of them are looking for their own, and they're not the people who are looking to join your organization at Place. They're looking to build their own.
There's nobody out there that's not looking to join our organization. Just so you know, like, why would you say that? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Holly. Go.
Well, I love what you said, because you said, where should they go to find talent? There's a key point in how you phrase that question that is critical to the success of the talent search, is you should be actively finding your people. Sure, we all leverage Indeed or Wise Hire or different platforms for our job ads. Yet that's not going to get you the talent that you truly, truly want. Sure, you find good people there, but if you're serious about growing your business with phenomenal humans that are in it with you, you need to go find them. So, Chad, the way you phrase that question in your mindset is spot on for people that are wanting to grow big dreams. The thing I would say is there's talent around every corner. One thing that I share over and over again is turn an everyday moment into a talent moment. And not just about customer service, but about when you're at the soccer field with your kids and you're talking to other parents, or you're at your nonprofit meeting in the evening and finding out what other people do professionally, the people that show up. So when you're going about your day-to-day business, from customer service oriented people that are helping you as you run your errands, to say you're closing on a home and the title rep is amazing, to you are at that charity event and the person that has organized their volunteer roles the best or is the most dynamic and articulate person in the room. Those are all talent moments for you. And I think that's important. So I'll give you some examples. Not recently, but a couple of years ago, I was at a Mediterranean restaurant and you build your own kebab. The kid behind the counter that was helping me was so excited about giving me suggestions on what would bring out what flavors in my fast food kebab. And I thought, if he's so excited about that sauce going with this falafel, then what could he do if he was actually selling a home? And so I gave him my business card and I said, this is who I am. I would love to have another conversation with you. And I also got his contact information. So just like a great sales professional, when you're on the talent search, you need to be collecting that information and being in control of the follow-up and starting to build that relationship. So I use that as an example, as an everyday moment. Now let's parlay that into, maybe a higher level position, an executive level position or a director level position. So if you look around my previous organization, a lot of the people that we were in business with were people that I met through volunteering in my community, people that we served on boards together, or people that we were on committees together. And when you're looking around your day-to-day activities and you see these people showing up and going above and beyond, not just in their business, not just for their families, but also for their communities, those are people that would be really attractive in your space. Why? Number one, you can get a sense of their work product before they're in your organization. The second reason that's equally as powerful is if they're that networked and they're out there, think about what that does for your brand. It elevates your brand. And so turn everyday moments into talent moments. The second thing I would say is, who do you just want to know? Who do you want to be in business with? Who would make you better, both as a professional, but also as a business owner or as a business leader? And just get to know them. I highly recommend making a rock star list of just thinking about who's killing it in their industry in your city or in neighboring cities, or if your business is in multiple cities and those cities as well. And just get to know them. I recommend, the 30 under 30 list or the 40 under 40 list in different communities, looking at your local business journal and reading the people that are doing great things, and just starting a list of those people. Bob, Brevity is a great place to put those people in, and developing nurture campaigns on them, but just getting to know them and building a rapport. You never know at what point of your business's life cycle where you're going to be able to make that hire. So you might be looking at that 30 under 30 star thinking, gosh, they make well above six figures. I haven't earned the right. Chris Suarez, who we're all in business with, says your P&L has to earn the right for a certain level of hire. That's okay. You don't know whenever you're going to need that person. And if you start nurturing those rock stars now, when you're ready to be able to hire that rock star, it's a warm lead. It's a relationship by this point. You've built a rapport and you're going to be able to have a conversation. The other thing about those rock stars is like attracts like. We've already talked about that during this conversation. Those rock stars know other rock stars. So they might even know a junior rock star that your P&L might be able to afford now. Or maybe in a year or 2 or 3, when you're ready to make a hire of that level and you go to them, maybe it's not them. Maybe they've started their own company, or maybe they truly are in the place that's perfect for them, very similar to our place. And you don't want to pull them away from that, but they're going to know other people that do that well. So cultivating those relationships over time and not being afraid to start to build those relationships with the top talent in your location right now. And then we can go on and on for days about how to leverage technology platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, just general social media for attracting people as well, if we wanted to go down.
Well, then let's not stop. Let's not go for days, but let's go for at least a few more minutes on just that topic there, because everybody's in the world of social media, whether they're on LinkedIn or Facebook or whichever ones they're using. How would you use the social media power to find talent?
Love it. So first thing I would say is don't worry about getting a LinkedIn recruiter package or anything like that. When you have a recruiting team and there's someone designated to that, go for it. When you're running scrappy and you're in startup mode, or you're not there yet, or you're a hiring manager and you don't have access to a recruiting team, LinkedIn is powerful on its own. Fill out your profile, look like a professional, look like someone that other people would be attracted to. That doesn't mean you have to post all the time. It's great if you do. That doesn't mean that you have to post. Just make sure that you have a polished professional profile. All of us share information at deeper levels than others. So make it meaningful to you and organic and natural to you. But make sure it tells your story and your story of success. Talent is attracted to people that they can see their progression or their track record of success. Make sure that your LinkedIn profile shows that. Then use LinkedIn to just simply connect with people that are talent. A hack that I often tell people is think about the people that you know that are rock stars. Chad Himes, I think you're a rock star. And if I thought I needed a developer to work on my technology site, I would go into Chad's contacts and I would look at his connections and I would think, okay, that person's a developer. That person's a developer. This person's a developer. And then I would go to Chad and say, Chad, I see you know these 5 developers. 3 of them are in Austin, one's in the Bay Area, and one's in Seattle. Can you tell me more about them? Are they as talented as you are? Do you mind making a connection to me or for me? And to have that person help set up the connection. Now, maybe you don't want to add to Chad's plate, so you just pick his brain. Is this person as brilliant as you are, Chad? And then cold call that person. When we have a warm lead, don't be afraid of the cold call. When we have a warm lead in the talent industry and I can say, hey, Bob, my name's Holly Priestner. I'm a place. We have so many technology opportunities available right now. We have a mutual friend, Chad Himes, and he said, I noticed that y'all were friends. He's one of the most talented people I've ever met, which makes me think that you are too, because like attracts like. Do you have a moment for me to pick your brain? Go into it asking for referrals, asking for a favor to pick their brain. And then you can kind of navigate through what the opportunity is and then simply ask, would you be interested in learning more about this?
Holly, I love, Ben does something, and we've talked in a couple of episodes ago about this idea of like, when you reach out, let's say you reached out to that developer that was a friend and you say, hey, I'm reaching out to you today. We have this mutual friend, Chad, and he had mentioned that you're a really great developer, but he also said that you're probably happy where you're at. But so I'm just wondering if you know anybody that I should know for this opportunity that we have, kind of that. And then he might say, well, what about me? Right? Like I'm actually not as happy as Chad made it seem like I am. Like I'm open to an opportunity, and kind of that like back door, like, hey, do you know anybody that can help us out? And that person might actually be the person that could help us out.
And people love to help each other out. So when you ask for the favor, they're all in. It's a brilliant script. And when you start to describe an opportunity and you're describing it and the passion that you have behind it and how you change lives, they go all in. So if you don't have a recruiting team, that's a great way to leverage like an active search on LinkedIn. The other thing that I would say from a social media perspective is also think about the people that are the best at what they do. in their industry and getting to them through mutual friends. Sometimes that's on LinkedIn and being able to look at those mutual connections. Don't underestimate the power of Facebook connections. So this happened to me multiple times in my previous organization where Business Insider or Forbes would put out their big 30 under 30 list or 40 under 40 list. So we're talking about global rock stars. And I would take that list and I made it a goal to get to one person on each one of those lists. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, it came through some mutual connection on Facebook. And just digging deep and getting creative on how you're doing that, but knowing that your Facebook connections are just as powerful as LinkedIn, and you're more likely to have a stronger connection to your Facebook friends than LinkedIn because our professional networks are so much bigger than that space that is a little more personal. It's also up to us to show up big on online communities. And so when we look at LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups that are tied to what we do, our job functions or our alleged areas of expertise, and making sure that we're on those groups and we're adding value. I actually led a session for our organization earlier today, a talent consulting session. And my first rule of thumb for those groups is don't be creepy. Don't just get on. You're already in these groups. I can see you in these groups. I know you're paying attention based on comments that you make. You're in the group. Don't be creepy. Like things, comment, start to build your validity and your credibility and start to build relationships within that group. Start asking questions. And when you see people asking questions and you have the answer, talk about your journey and talk about being vulnerable. Chris Stewart, our new president, was on that session and he said, when you're willing to be vulnerable and not just the expert, it warms people up to that relationship, but start to add value. And then when you see a topic that you happen to be knowledgeable about and there's a lot of engagement on that topic, offer to do a quick Zoom mastermind. Start to engage with people so that then when you need them from a talent perspective or an opportunity perspective, it's already a warm conversation. It's a relationship. You've already added value to them. They're really excited to add value to you and they know you and they might be attracted to what you're building.
What did our Jordan Harbinger call it? Dig the well before you need water, Chad? Or what did he say?
Absolutely. That episode might not have aired yet, folks. So Bob's giving you a sneak peek as to one we've got coming up, but absolutely dig the well before you need the water.
Holly, can I
all I got from all of that though, to me, was that I was awesome, right? That she wasn't just using an example. She was being genuine there.
I actually saw you daydreaming after she said that, Chad. You were like head back, just looking up into the stars. Like, Holly, don't do that. Would we lose Chad for stretches of time when you give him really, really nice compliments? So,
well, I think our audience to know who they're working with every week.
Yeah, not used to it. All right. When I work with Bob and Ben, they bring me down to earth. Don't be worried about it. All right. So, Holly, let me ask you this. You've now given us some idea where to find talent, whether it's social media, whether it's just in our society, whether it's all these places we can find talent. What are some of those things we can watch for? One of the things I know you like to talk about are language patterns that show up in people. Some are good, some are bad. Give our audience some of those tips to watch for that makes you say, whoa, red light, we're out. I mean, I was talking to a guy yesterday and we were on the phone for 45 minutes. He was selling me something. I wanted the product, so I was going through the whole thing. And he said to me, if you weren't a match for us, 8 minutes in, I had a break point in the script. I would have gotten out of this, right? What are some of those language patterns everyone should look for to know when to get out?
So are they a victim or are they a victor? When you're talking to someone, and this is why passive candidates, people that are already happy in their current roles, are the best candidates because they're victors. And what I mean by that, they're thriving, they're doing well, you're going after them. When people are coming to you and they're raising their hand, applying for a job ad, and sometimes even the people that we're going after, if they have excuses for every reason they left an organization that were tied to another person. So I'll give you an example that sounds positive, and I'll give you an example that sounds negative. Both of them tell a similar story. So this recently happened. An agent on one of our real estate teams, a director of sales, was hiring an agent. And the agent said every single time she left an organization, it was the leadership wasn't strong enough for her and she needed more from the leaders. Now, we have all worked for a leader that didn't live up to our expectations. So if I maybe heard that once, I would say, oh, interesting. I want to know more about that dynamic, that relationship, what was going on there. When you hear that for 3 or 4 or 5 different organizations, even though it sounds favorable because she was wanting leadership, that's a red flag right there because she wasn't taking control over her growth or she wasn't seeking out the mentorship or the leadership that she wanted. That was a red flag. It sounded positive, but it was a red flag. On the flip side of that, if they are in an organization and every single time they left, it was, there's just a ceiling on my growth. I couldn't go any further, or I had a conflict with a coworker, a conflict with my manager. Those are things that are also, language. If they're using the word conflict a lot, look at words that they repeat over and over and think, is that a word that I want brought into my organization over and over again? When someone says growth over and over again, I think that's a great person to come work with Bob and to come work at Place. When I hear the word mindset, or when I'm listening and someone is focused on, classes or books or honing their skills, when I look at someone that every single time in an organization, their growth path came because they added value, not because they were just looking for the next step because they were there a certain amount of time, or it was, I came into the level 1, then I went to a 2, then I went to a 3. There's a big difference in that person that was just getting the next step on longevity versus the person that comes into an organization and thinks, I'm going to add value, I'm going to fill holes, I'm going to close gaps, and that leads to my next opportunity. So we look at those patterns. It's language. It's actually words that are used. And then it's also, hey, what was their trajectory? What were the patterns in their previous organizations or their previous roles that led to bigger and better things? Also, how they view relationships with coworkers, relationships with leadership. And even if we're talking to green talent that's right out of school, relationships with classmates, relationships in team group projects, relationships with their professors or teachers. What are the patterns that you see there? We don't want someone that comes in and it's all I. The 3 of us know that nothing in Place works because there's one superstar. Everything in Place works because there's multiple superstars that are supporting each other. No one is self-made. There's always someone else around there. So looking for that language of when they had successes, who was with them? When they had failures, what did they learn? What did they learn from their successes? But looking for patterns in all of that.
I think that the idea that if you're talking to somebody and they're talking about the last place that they had worked and they are using I versus we, that's a red flag, right? If they're just well, here's what I did and and I was successful and I sold and I did. Ben is a master at he never says we're talking business. It's we. Oftentimes it's we when he's the only one that did it. What do you mean we? You have a rock in your pocket? You did that, but he's still he brings the organization with him, right? So yeah, language is, but if you're not keyed into that stuff, Holly, you don't, that different. It would just go right by you, right? If you weren't looking for those red flags or you just weren't aware of the language patterns of people, you might not spot the difference between somebody saying I was successful at my last job and we sold a bunch, right? I mean, but there is a difference.
Well, Bob, and that's important because think about a lot of times when we're hiring out of pain. There's a lot of work to be done or someone is left. And naturally, I would think most of your listeners, knowing what this podcast is all about conceptually, are very positive humans that see the best in others. And what we need to do to make sure that we're pulling that information out is when they're talking to be writing notes verbatim. And I don't mean summarizing what they're saying, but writing the exact terms, the exact language that they're using so that after the fact, you can go in and you can circle those patterns. Because when you're in a conversation with someone and you're leaning in and they're leaning in and you're excited about what they can do and they're excited about what your organization brings or who you are as a leader, it's easy to summarize in our head what we thought we heard versus what we really heard. And when I'm in a recruiting or a talent conversation, it is pages and pages and pages of notes, and then forcing myself to pause, go through, and circle every single pattern that I see. Words that are used over and over again, themes that are used over and over again. I say data trumps drama, and it is very challenging to find data in a conversation Those patterns are your data points, and those patterns and investing the time and writing out all of those notes are what is going to save you drama down the line.
Data trumps drama.
I love the idea that you can take a conversation and like apply data to it, and really the data in a conversation is the words which you're writing down as they say them, and then going back, because you wouldn't, if they said conflict 4 different times over an hour-long interview, like you might not put that together, but as you go back, you're like, oh, this person, they actually get into a bunch of conflict. I didn't really realize that because I was excited, I was leaned in, right? But when I go back and analyze it, yeah.
And just as much as there are red flags, there are green flags, right? Because as Holly was saying, if they're talking about growth, if you do hear them saying we all the time, if you're hearing things about value that they're bringing in, you might miss some of those words, but there are green flags as much as there are red flags.
100%.
Okay. All right. So Holly, here we are. We now know where to find the talent, right? We understand how to use social media a little bit better, maybe to get some of that talent, connect with some of that talent. You talked about the talent probably isn't out there answering your Indeed ads. I mean, Ben had recently posted an ad on Indeed, actually, and I won't read the whole thing. It made me laugh, actually, knowing how honest he was being in it. Yet he says, you probably aren't looking for an opportunity right now, and you're probably happy with the company you're currently with. So, I mean, we're talking about talent. You're going to have to go find that talent. Okay. But tell us a little bit more when it comes to social media and telling stories in there to be able to then attract people into our world.
So this is a great full circle for how we started this conversation. Before you go find, you have to have the story to tell. And part of that is about what you do and why it's meaningful. And part of it's about your people. When you're leveraging social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, now we have TikTok, Twitter. Chad, welcome back to Twitter. When we're telling those stories, it's important to note that we still need to focus on our people. So when you are engaging your people in that storytelling, you are 8 times more likely to get engagement around that post. So let's go back to making Chad feel amazing today because he's awesome. So if I do
but he's going to drift off for the next 5 minutes. Here we go.
I'm good.
All right. Okay.
So if I, post a picture of Chad and I talk about what Chad's been able to accomplish since he's entered into our world and this beautiful story about Chad, people are more likely to resonate with that than, oh, we have this open position available. The same thing, taking that one step further, when there is actually a video about the opportunity, about the team, about the person, there's 10 times more engagement. And so think about, how do you spotlight your team members? Because this goes 2 different ways. Number one, what a great thing for retention. How great does Chad feel when I asked Chad, let's jump on a quick Facebook Live and let's do a Q&A on your journey. I'm so proud of you, Chad. What you've accomplished is incredible. You add value. Think about our Win, Make, Give audience and the value that you bring twice a week, every week, and the stories that we're getting from our listeners on how you've changed their life, how you've changed their businesses. I think that story about you needs to be told. So let's jump on a Facebook Live and let's tell that story. Well, number one, Chad loves that. Chad thinks, man, I'm appreciated. Even the people that are camera shy think, my leader is so glad that I'm here. My contributions matter. So that helps with retention. We need to remember that talent attraction is also retention. Retention is re-recruiting our people over and over again. So when we're spotlighting them and we're featuring them and we're engaging them, that helps us with our retention. The flip side of that is it's an organic story about that growth. And it's an organic story about what we can do to transform people's careers. And so that's where talent starts to pay attention. Is it's not us selling, it's us telling a story about what we can do for our people. And when you start to build that content out, every single piece of content that we use should be able to have a second act and a third act. So let's use the Facebook Live example for the metaphor of, okay, now we've done this Facebook Live, but now let's put that in an auto plan for brevity, where then my talent sees this amazing story of Chad. Okay, great. Now we also know that we have this weekly newsletter that goes out to a broader audience, let's include that Facebook Live, the video from that, so that it's hitting multiple people. Oh, I need to call my allied resources and tell them who we're looking for this month. I'm going to follow up with that video so that they can see that when they give us a lead, we take care of our people. So when we think about social media, making sure that we're engaging our people, 8 times more likely for people to pay attention when we're spotlighting our people, 10 times more likely to engage when there's a video. If you want to study a company that does this really, really well, Zappos, if you go to the recruiting site and how they use their people, that's a phenomenal benchmark for us.
Okay, so we can highlight our people in our search for talent. How do we turn our people into talent searchers for us? Like, how do we get our organization bought in to helping us go out and find
junior
talent?
Unicorn hunters?
An army of unicorn hunters. That's what we're shooting for. So when we think through that, number one, it's educating them that they're needed. Internal referrals are the biggest, the best ROI on your talent attraction efforts are through internal referrals. And again, that goes back to retention. When people start to bring the people that they care about or that they want to work with into the organization, there's a stickiness there. The second part about that is that it's a warmer lead. You don't have to warm the person up. They know about your organization. They have a baseline for what happens there, and they're automatically interested because their friend is there. So from just straight ROI on your efforts, internal referrals are king. That is where you should put in so much of your effort. Now, educating them, telling them that they're needed in this search. So, Bob, let's use the Place headquarters as an example. Does every single person that's involved at Place know every single role that is open? No, not yet.
Yeah, no,
right?
yeah. We're building, like, literally Chris Stewart was on there yesterday talking about the org chart we're building out. Like, it's happening as we speak. Yeah.
Right. And more talent support is on that org chart so that we can do this in the best first class way possible. And part of that is making sure that your organization knows all of the open positions. So you might have someone in a marketing function that just knows what's happening in marketing. They have no idea that you need a product designer or someone in sales on the Brevity side. And so having some sort of natural cadence of sharing what the open positions are and giving so that they know who they can think about who do they know in these different spaces. The second thing, incentivize. So what is it? Is it contest? And do you build a lot of, ramp up a lot of hype over contest and tie the contest to your mission? So delivering the dream of home ownership and living experiential lives. Well, then great. If you're going to win the recruiting contest, then we're going to buy you an experience that you wanted to go on. Maybe it's skydiving or a fancy restaurant that you normally wouldn't go on date night, or maybe it's a trip. There are some really large companies that GM's an example, they get cars. I mean, they're in the car industry, but that's pretty
kind of cheap for them to give away a car.
Yeah, let's go on record saying that, Chad. We're going to make friends that way.
I'll take it.
I'll take a cheap car.
Yeah, me too.
But what are the incentives that are, tied to what you do or tied to your mission? But really incentivizing and having contests, making sure that you're having those ongoing conversations. Make it about them. One of my favorite things, and we're really implementing this on the Place sell side, meaning real estate sell side right now, is are you having a referral sprint with your people once a month? So sure, everyone knows we're all looking for talent all the time, but are you sitting down in a team meeting and saying, hey, let's spend the first 15 minutes of this team meeting and think about this is what we're looking for. Who do we know? Who have you interacted with? Who have you transacted with? Who did you meet at the soccer game on Wednesday that we should be in a conversation with, where they're not having to think about it in addition to all their other things. You're just making it a part of their normal conversation.
If I could summarize some of those things, it's basically like get your organization focused on that, right? Like they need to know what the jobs are. They need to be reminded. They need to be just even asked, Holly, like, hey, we need your help finding talented individuals to come work with you, right? I mean, the simple ask. I've worked at lots of companies that never once asked me to go find other talented people to come work with us. In fact, it's almost every company I've ever worked with has never asked for that. They go out and do job ads and go.
That's a hint, Bob.
I don't know. It could be.
Well, luckily, talent attracts talent.
Luckily, Ben has asked me multiple times, like, who do you want to work with? Who have you worked with in the past? He just asked me last week, He asked me to give him a list of the 5 top people I've worked with in my entire career. Like he does it all the time.
All right, we're not going to tell audience members if you made the list. Nobody out there is going to know if you are on that list. But we do know Bob's looking for talent. We also know, because Holly's made it very clear, that she's always looking for talent. Might not be for today opportunity, but she's always looking for talent. So Holly, you've given us enough value in all the stuff you shared that I'm going to give you the opportunity now to, how do they get in touch with Holly if they're sitting out there going, I'm talent, and that sounds like a world I want to be a part of? How do they connect with you?
Holly, HOLLY, @place.com. It's simple.
That's a really hard one. That's a really hard one because you've said place enough times through this whole conversation that if they've missed that, they've missed everything. Look, gang, you can come in our Facebook group. You know it, facebook.com/group/win-make-give. You can post in there. You can find Bob in there. You can find me in there. You can find any of us in there that you want to connect with if you're looking for an opportunity. Who knows what our worlds are all looking for when it comes to an opportunity. Heck, we built a whole podcast series just because Bob was looking for talent. Now, Holly, here in season 2 of Win, Make, Give, we're really living up to that give. Now, you've helped us with the win, which will help all of our businesses make more because we'll go out and we'll win by finding talent. We want to give back, and we are giving to a charity organization of your choice based on number of listens this episode gets in the first 30 days. So, Holly, which charity are we going to be donating to based on this episode?
CASA of Travis County, which is court-appointed special advocates. And this organization trains and provides advocates for children in the foster care system, in the CPS system. So CASA of Travis County.
Wonderful. Love that. All right, gang. Holly's showing you how to connect with her. You know how to connect with Bob. You definitely know how to connect with the Win, Make, Give crew that we are all here for. We want you to be out there looking for talent in your world. Become a unicorn hunter just like Holly, okay? Or look up and say, I think I found where I belong. I want to be a part of that, and reach out to the team like Holly and Bob to help you make that happen.
Yeah,
Holly,
we need unicorns, Holly. We need unicorns. There's a few of them listening to us today. I have no question.
Absolutely. I'm sure they are.
They're ready to find their place with us.
That's
there
right.
There you go.
That's
awesome.
Right.
All right. On behalf of Bob and Holly, who are getting in the last minute plug, on behalf of them.
Every time, Chad, every time.
We appreciate you being a part of our Win, Make, Give family. And remember, do good.